Women in leadership. Why is it important? Well, I was reading some research that came out last year from the UK, and it stated that in the Financial Times Stock Exchange 100 companies, so in other words, the 100 largest companies in the UK, only 8 women, and none of them women of colour, were CEOs of those companies. Now you might say, why does that matter? Well, it matters because the research also shows that companies that have a high percentage of female leadership, approximately 30% of female leadership, outperform other companies by up to 25%. So it is obviously, the onus is on companies to make sure that they do have good female representation throughout their organisation. Now, here in Australia in 2022, McKinsey produced a report, Women in the Workplace. And that had some startling statistics in there about the likelihood of women versus men to change jobs. So women are leaving companies at far higher rates than men are. And there are 3 main reasons for this. So the first is that women leaders do want to advance. They're facing stronger headwinds than men. Now, the anecdotal evidence is demonstrating that this is appearing in the form of microaggressions in the workplace, or just not being considered for promotions as and when they arise. And I'd have to say that that is common, or at least a common experience for a lot of the women that we coach in senior leadership positions. They feel that they are talked over in meetings, that they are belittled in meetings, and that they often aren't even considered for roles that they are perfectly capable of delivering performance in. So that's the first issue. The second is that the research shows that women are overworked relative to men in the workplace. So what does that mean? I guess it means that a lot of the work in regard to creating the corporate culture, supporting employees, really working in the diversity, equity and inclusion space seems to have fallen upon women. And it's not work that they're being rewarded for. So it's stuff that they are taking on in addition to their roles, but it's not part of their KPIs or their performance appraisals. So it's something that they tend to do after hours, if you like. And then the third thing is that female leaders are often seeking a different culture. So they may be looking for more flexibility or a company that is more diversified. Now, when I think back to my experience of work, I was a senior manager at PwC and had been told that I would be a candidate for partnership if I stayed. But when I looked at the experience and the lifestyle that female partners had at PwC at the time, I knew that was a choice that I didn't want to make. I was ready to have children and I wanted an employer who was more family friendly, who had creches on site, who understood the need for flexible work opportunities, for example. So that was certainly my experience, and given that a lot of the onus of child rearing still does tend to fall upon women, the idea that they need to find a culture that supports flexible work opportunities prevails. So what do we think needs to happen here to make this situation a bit better? I mean, really, it's just to have conversations with women in the workplace. It's to listen to what they have to say. It's to adjust the cultures accordingly so that we are able to accommodate their needs and requirements, and also ensure that they are rewarded for that extra work that they're doing, which builds a company culture, supports employees, and is often viewed as the softer side of their role. But make sure that that is recognised as being a pivotal part of their role and essential to a healthy functioning of an organisation. So as organisations, how do you ensure the retention of quality female talent? How do you make sure that they're not leaving to join other organisations at a far higher rate than men currently are? Well, a couple of suggestions. One, firstly, would be to listen to what the females in your organisation have to say. The second would be, once you've heard them, to adjust the culture accordingly, to make sure that we are meeting those unspoken needs. And finally, of course, to make sure that if time is being invested by female leaders in nurturing employees, in building a psychologically safe workplace for people, in encouraging and supporting diversity, equity and inclusion within an organisation, that is recognised as real work, valuable work. Work that can not just support the culture of an organisation, but really result in outperformance of an organisation.